Hello, good evening, and welcome to our last bulletin for the day. This is News at 10. We're live from the News Hub at Adisawe Kanda in Accra. You can follow our live stream on Facebook and on 3news.com. I'm Stephen NT. Let's start with the major news highlights of the day. Government has overall achieved reasonable progress towards implementing some of the promises made in its 2016 manifesto. That's according to Imanifesto 2018, an assessment of the MPP's first year in office by Imani Ghana. The policy think tank is, however, cautioning government to be wary of just ticking off promises from a checklist without solving actual problems. And former workers of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation have given management of the state broadcaster a 60-day ultimatum to pay their end-of-service benefits owed them since 2012. The retirees are also demanding the payment of the 2% Provident Fund, which has also not been settled since 2009. And traders at the newly constructed racecourse market in Kumasi have threatened to return to the streets if the city authority fails to get colleagues to join them. They have accused the KMA of wasting resources since the decongestion exercise has not been successful. On the two former Guantanamo Bay detainees, Mahmoud Omar Mohamed bin Atef and Khalid Mohammed Salif Al-Dube, are to stay in Ghana as refugees. The agreement covering their stay in Ghana expired on January 6th. But in a statement to Parliament Tuesday, the Foreign Affairs Minister said no exit arrangement was originally discussed between Ghana and the United States to end the bilateral arrangement at the time of the negotiation. Those are our major news highlights. Remember, we're streaming live on our Facebook page and on 3news.com. You can also hear us live on 3FM 92.7. Up next is the big one. Welcome. Now, the two former Guantanamo Bay detainees, Mahmoud Omar Mohamed bin Atef and Khalid Mohammed Salif Al-Dube, are to stay in Ghana as refugees. The agreement covering their stay in Ghana expired on January 6th. But in a statement to Parliament Tuesday, the Foreign Affairs Minister said no exit arrangement was originally discussed between Ghana and the United States to end the bilateral arrangement at the time of the negotiation.
The two former Guantanamo Bay detainees have been in the country for 2 years. Their stay expired on January 6, 2018. There were calls on government to make their fate known. The Foreign Affairs Minister Shirley Ayokobotri told Parliament the two ex-detainees who have been in Ghana with their families have been of good behavior. She, however, revealed they have become the responsibility of the country because discussions with the U.S. government revealed there was no agreement on their return.
It is to be noted that no exit arrangements were originally discussed between the two governments to end the bilateral arrangements at the time of negotiation. The U.S. has also been clear in our discussions with them that per the agreement, returning them to the United States is not an option open to discussion or negotiation. This means that all obligations relating to the two subjects has now become the responsibility of Ghana.
The minister indicated government is constrained under the circumstances to explore other options but will await an in-depth examination of the matter by the appropriate agencies.
Mr. Speaker, in exploring options open to government, we have hit two hurdles. The first hurdle being that the agreement that was signed between the previous government and the United States stipulates that, and I quote, "The government of Ghana is to take measures to facilitate the integration of Mr. Bin Attef and Mr. Al-Dubi into Ghanaian society," unquote. What this means is that while the United States obligations end after 2 years, Ghana's obligations continue even after that. In addition, and even more significant, Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Interior has informed my ministry of records at the Refugee Board, which reveal that the government at the time granted the two detainees refugee status.
Mahmoud Omar Mohamed Bin Attef and Khalid Mohamed Saleh Al-Dubi were brought to Ghana in 2016 after having been in detention at Guantanamo Bay for 14 years after being linked with the terrorist group Al-Qaeda, but were brought for 2 years.
And the minority in parliament is asking government to revoke the Refugee Act if it cannot host the two ex-Guantanamo Bay detainees as refugees. This was after the majority MPs insisted the NDC government's arrangements will make it difficult to send the two ex-detainees back home.
MP for North Tongue and the ranking member of the Foreign Affairs Committee, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, wanted clarification from the Foreign Affairs Minister as to when the two former Guantanamo Bay detainees' status as refugees will expire, since the country's refugees laws are not permanent.
If we are to admit that there was no discussion of an exit strategy, does it mean that in the ensuing discussions with the U.S. authorities under the new administration, when the agreement was being presented to this House, was there still no discussion for an exit strategy?
The majority maintains it will be difficult to send the two back home, insisting the previous government had hidden certain information from the current government.
You have tied in the hands of the people of Ghana at the back, then you come out in the air shouting as if you knew nothing about it. Meanwhile, you took the decision to make them refugees. You took the decision to make it very difficult for anybody to send them out.
But a government we took over 7 January 2017, the leadership of this country are today telling Parliament and the people of Ghana that the very Gedmo 2, which some of them variously described as terrorists, they are now only getting to know today that they were granted refugee status. After 1 solid year, you didn't know. 1 year in government, you didn't know, or you didn't want to know. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, there is a section in the Refugee Act, Section 15, it reads, withdrawal of refugee status. The board may withdraw the recognition of where the board considers that there are reasonable grounds for believing that a person who has been recognized as a refugee should not have been given that status. So, if you have a problem, invoke the law and do what is appropriate. It is within the house. It is within the law. This pretense must stop. This pretense must stop. Revoke it.
It is in July, we are told, July 21st, 2016, that they were accorded refugee status. So one would have expected that in the handing over note, this additional information would have been provided to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. This, unfortunately, was not transmitted. It was not part of the handing over note. And the Honorable Ayariga, I'm quoting his words, he said, there is no reason why the people should remain in this country. If indeed that is true, how do you situate that in the context of the refugee status that the government of yesterday granted them? We can't blow hot and cold. And we should not be playing to the gallery when the facts point to a different direction.
Well, in June 2016, the United States government said it could not tell whether there was an agreement between Ghana and the U.S. over Gitmo 2, saying in Ghana, Danny Fennell in June 2016 told my colleague Komla Kluche the American embassy in Ghana could not tell whether there was an agreement or not. Let's listen to that conversation again.
Is part of a process of reintegration into society, which is the right thing. They are not being held in a prison. They're not being held prisoner in that sense. We want them to become members of the world community and eventually be able to go back to their own country.
Members of the world community, reintegrated them into society. Why are we not seeing them? Why is everything clouded in some sort of secrecy, so to speak?
Well, here you are on national television, so it's not that secret. But
I'm talking about the two prisoners. If we want Ghanaians to welcome them and they should be reintegrated into society, then it should be transparent.
No, I see your point, your question. The process of how they'll be monitored, et cetera, is all in the hands of the Ghanaian government, and so I'd invite you to talk to them specifically. But the rubric is well tried. There's a model that they're following that has been very successful in different countries, and so this is over 50 countries have had success. And I think the Ghanaians are good partners, and they're smart, they're organized, they're able to follow through on the plan, and I think that they're going to have success.
Does this involve any financial reward whatsoever?
I wouldn't put it in terms of reward. The United States, I think, is asking the Ghanaians to do some work as a partner with us, and so we're going to help with the remuneration of the expense of the residency and food, etc. For the first period of time. But really, this is a partnership. The United States partners with Ghana in many areas, in the development of energy, the development of education, in health. We have the Peace Corps. We do many, many things with Ghana in a partnership basis.
Can we look at the document in terms of the agreement? I'm sure this is not just a verbal agreement. There are legal documents, the paperwork. Can we look at the paperwork and do a review of it for transparency's sake?
I'm not sure there is a document to review that's public, but the arrangements of what will happen to the former detainees, I'm sure that the host government will be able to disclose those things.
Interesting conversation there. International relations expert Professor Vladimir Ntwi-Danso has taken a swipe at the erstwhile NDC administration and the current government in what he describes as torture in the negotiations to admit the Gitmo 2 detainees, former Guantanamo Bay detainees. Venting his plane, Professor Ntwi-Danso said there is no agreement that cannot be redone.
Were you surprised to hear there's as many were that these two had been granted refugee status as far back as 2016?
Well, it's mind-boggling. It's a little infuriating. It insults the sensibilities of some of us, because all along the whole thing has been shrouded in some kind of secrecy. In my field, I think we have all discussed this before. It's not proper to have a negotiation which doesn't have an exit clause, how to get out of that negotiation. It's not also true that you negotiate in diplomatic circles when you don't have anything to gain and you say compassionate grounds. And so it is because of all these that we don't know that we are now in this lacuna. It's very unfortunate, and I'm really very, very angry with the previous government and with this government also, the way we are handling this issue. You can't just negotiate somebody's insecurity to become part of your insecurity. I mean, it's outrageous. I can't believe that the time they were telling us how they came in, part of the clause was that they have been given refugee status for them to be permanent here or whatever it is. No, government must come out to tell us something more, because I just don't understand.
The Foreign Affairs Minister made reference to part of the agreement which read that efforts were to be made to integrate these two into the Ghanaian society. I mean,
That's where my anger comes, because in 2016 when we were talking about this, remember I was the first to write about this. In 2015, when we had wind that Ghana was going to take between 5 and 15, paid attention to that. In 2016 they came, and again it was outrageous. I said, look, it's going to be a problem. What did we gain? We were told we gained nothing. The word was nothing. Compassionate grounds we brought them in. Not knowing we brought them in as refugees. So it's like lies have been told to Ghanaians, which is wrong. But this government has a way out. We need to. And I'm surprised that the opposition is now talking about pressure and doing this and the law. Didn't they know the law? That we are not a monist country, we are a dualist country.
Still news at 10. We'll be right back with more news. Please stay. Welcome. Now, by 2050, the world's population is expected to grow from 7 to 9 billion. The need for improved agricultural productivity as a result of this projected rise in the global population has never been greater, with the obvious ones being the stimulation of innovation in agriculture and what have you, including food technologies. Now, key examples might include breeding new crop varieties, feed solutions, aquaculture, and a host of other things. Ghana and the Embassy of Israel here in Ghana will, on Thursday, 25th January, hold the Ghana-Israel Agricultural Technology Breakfast. Mr. Odell Halamit is a special guest from Israel's Center for International Agricultural Development Cooperation under the Ministry of Agric in Israel. And he's joining us in the studio to have a discussion on this event and subsequently what is in it for Ghana and Israel. Good evening, sir. Grateful to have you on our show. Before we came on air, I was asking you a simple question. Is this the first of its kind in Ghana, this breakfast? Is it the first time we're having this kind of engagement with Israel and Ghana agricultural experts and the media?
I'm no expert in the history of the Ghana-Israel agricultural history, let's say.
That's fine.
But I know for sure that for many reasons we have a lot of cooperation on those issues, and it is never late to start and to renew it, because there is a lot to do, and we know that Ghana is 3 times the population of Israel, and Ghana is 10 times more the area of Israel. But Israel, because of its bottleneck in water, in land.
When you say bottleneck, do you mean challenges it faces in water or constraints it faces in some of these areas? It had to adapt to advanced technology to make it good?
When you don't have enough water, you cannot grow agriculture.
That's right.
And in Israel, there is a whole culture of water that is directed in order to economize water and to be able to produce security, food security for the Israeli people. So slowly we developed during 70 years a lot of technology in agriculture in order to produce more with less. And this is exactly what we are doing in this exhibition.
And so you're hoping that Ghanaians will learn how to produce more with less through the use of technology.
Exactly.
So who are attending this seminar? Experts, agric experts?
I believe that in bringing new technology, we need leadership. And the leadership of your minister and its highest decision maker professional should come, look the 1,000, 2,000 technology existing in a lot of sector, and they will choose what they think will be the most suitable, adequate for the Ghanaian conditions.
Interesting. So what are some of the agricultural innovations which Israel has, which you feel that Ghana needs to learn from? A few examples.
Drip irrigation system. The drip irrigation system, it's a way to overcome the climate change, to give little amount of water just to the plant and not to the soil, and be much more effective with a fertilizer that is administered just to the plant and not
to the whole soil.
To the whole soil.
That will border on water conservation. You spoke about cooperation on different fronts with Israel and Ghana. How is this going to enhance the cooperation between the two countries?
If there will be active players in the Israeli agricultural input companies and agricultural output company, this would be marvelous, because we know that the private sector is the most dynamic and the most effective in making a change, and we are looking for a change.
Right, Mr. Halamid, thank you very much for coming. My name is Stephen Enti. This is News at 10. Let's move to other stories. The Deputy Defense Minister has justified the killing of cattle by security personnel undertaking the Operation Cow Leg exercise at Agugo in Asante Achim in the Ashanti region. He spoke with our reporter, Catherine Frimpoma.
But have condemned your strategy, that it is not sustainable, and it's even against the UN conventions in the protection of animal rights.
Oh,
Shooting and killing.
yeah, dear beautiful sister, I advise you to follow the operation. And if a cow is coming to put its horns in between your two thighs and throw you off, you say that, and the soldier stands looking at you for the cow to do justice to you. That is where you know the difference between protecting you as a civilian and then the soldier as well. Then you as a journalist, then you come by and say, oh, it's against human rights for you to kick him and then save my life.
But
that is what we are
best
saying.
strategy. Is that the best strategy?
The best strategy is to achieve the aim of defending you.
And that's how we wrap up with News at 10. Thank you for staying with us. On behalf of the crew, good night. There is more news at 3news.com.